Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Tom's Gadget Garage. Now, I know that when it comes to electric scooters, choosing the right one can be a little bit difficult because there's so many options. Now, one thing I do want to say is that some of the best fun that I've had on electric scooters has been on budget-friendly scooters, typically under $500. And as the saying goes, sometimes it's more fun to drive a slow car fast than a fast car slow. And I think that absolutely extends to electric scooters. Now, the question is, does it extend to the scooter that we're going to be reviewing today, the Caroma P7? Now, full disclosure, Caroma did send me this scooter for review purposes, and when they first reached out, I did a little bit of research, and I found that there's a lot of people out there having fun on this scooter, adding accessories, towing trailers behind it, doing beer runs with the basket in the back of the scooter, and yes, this scooter does have a basket. It also has 14-inch wheels, can go upwards of 20 miles an hour, has a max theoretical range of 30 miles on a single charge. And what got me really excited was the fact that this is a seated scooter that can crank out upwards of 1,200 watts of peak power. So, is the Caroma P7 as fun as it looks? Well, that's exactly what we're here to find out. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and get this thing pulled out of the box. We'll get it assembled, we'll charge it up, then we'll take it outside in some better lighting, we'll take a look at some of the features closer, and then we'll jump straight into our testing. So we'll test out the range, hill climbability, overall comfort, all of that, and we'll end it with a recommendation. So without further delay, let's jump into the details. Alright, so that's what the packaging looks like on the inside. So I'm going to go ahead and get this thing pulled out so we can see it in all of its glory. Alright, so this is what the Caroma P7 looks like out of the box. I'm going to go ahead and get all these zip ties off, all the packaging off, and we'll jump straight into assembling it. Alright, so step one is to attach the kickstand with the included hex bolts and of course the included tools. Next, we're going to go ahead and extend the handlebar stem, and then we will lock that into place, like so. Next, we insert the handlebar stem into the vertical stem and then slide it into place and then latch it. The next step is going to be to insert the seat tube into the seat assembly and then tighten it down with the included wrenches. We're going to go ahead and insert the seat tube into the frame of the scooter, and once you get it to the appropriate height, you can go ahead and latch it down. Next step is to attach the basket assembly with the included hex screws. Feed the tail light cable through, attach the tail light. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to remove the adhesive backing on this reflector, and we're going to position it here on the left front fork, and then we're going to do the same thing on the right side. Now we're going to go ahead and attach our front reflector and then get that tightened down. Alright, so as you can see, the Caroma P7 is very straightforward to assemble. Of course, they include all the tools necessary to get it together as quickly as possible. So what we're going to go ahead and do now is get this thing charged up. It does have a 10.4 amp hour 48 volt battery, and they do of course include the battery charger, which charges at a max of 2 amps. So charging time on this scooter should be somewhere around 5 to 5.5 hours from completely empty to fully charged. So I'm going to go ahead and get this thing juiced up, then we'll go ahead and take it outside, take a closer look at the features of this scooter, and then we'll jump straight into our end-to-end testing. Alright folks, so this is the Caroma P7 out of the box in all of its glory. I'm going to go ahead and give you a closer look at all the features of this scooter. So first and foremost, starting in the back, we've got our 14-inch tires. That's really nice because it's going to give you a better ability to go over larger obstacles, so you're not going to be as worried about lumps and bumps in the road as you would with something, let's say, with 10-inch tires. Right over here, we've got our disc brake assembly. These are not hydraulic brakes, these are manual brakes, but they are disc brakes, so they should perform pretty well. We'll definitely be putting those to the test. And then, of course, back here, we have our 750-watt nominal and 1,200-watt peak motor, which should provide more than enough power for, everyday riding and then climbing up some moderate hills, which we'll also be putting to the test. Back here, we do have our brake and tail light combo, so as soon as you depress those brakes, that tail light does come on, which is a nice touch. And of course, back here we have this glorious basket which supports, 5 kilograms. Here we have our adjustable seat. It does have a suspension in the back which should help with comfort. This is also an adjustable seat post so we can, increase or decrease the height. As we work our way down, we do have a very robust looking kickstand here. So we'll see how that holds up over time. And then of course, we've got our deck here, which is covered in this really grippy rubber material. So we shouldn't have any issues with grip there. As you can see on this scooter, all the wires are externally routed and tidied up a little bit with some zip ties. And as we work our way forward, you'll see that we have our front disc brake as well as the reflectors that we added onto there, our 14-inch tires, our front fender, which of course we have one in the back. And then here we've got our headlight, which we'll definitely be testing out at night, but this is what it looks like during the day. Looks pretty bright, but we'll see how that works out. We do have some quick connects on the cabling here, which is nice. And then of course we've got that folding latching assembly here, as well as the adjustment for the handlebar height. Working our way over to the cockpit here, we do have these grips. They're not locking grips, so in hotter conditions, they will twist on you. We do have our manual brake levers here, as well as our bell, which in this case is a manual bell. Here at the center of the handlebar assembly, we do have an adjustment here so you can adjust the angle on the handlebars if you want. We've also got our front reflector. One thing to call out on this scooter is there is no traditional display. So this scooter will not tell you how fast you're going. It's actually got this display that only shows you battery levels, and you've got 4 bars here. So that's one thing to keep in mind. So if you want to track trip, distance, riding time, all that, you're going to have to use an external app. Here we do have our button for the headlights. When you turn that on, it turns on the headlights as well as the taillights. And then of course we've got our twist throttle, which is the entire grip here. So pretty interesting to see that on this scooter. Just beware that if you're having this scooter in the on position and you're moving it around by the handlebars, don't accidentally twist this, because I've definitely had that happen to me. And of course here on the right hand side we've got our right brake lever. So that was our feature overview of the Caroma P7. Let's jump straight into end-to-end testing. All right, so we are out here with the Caroma P7 and we're about to do a speed and acceleration test. Caroma does say this will go upwards of 20 miles an hour, and it does have up to 1200 watts of peak power. So let's see how that translates into top speed and acceleration. And for today's test, we're going to be using the Draggy performance monitor, which will give us the most accurate speed and acceleration data. All right, here we go in 3, 2, 1, go. Oh yeah, this thing's like a little hot rod. Okay, I felt the motor cut out. Let's see how we ended up. All right, it looks like on this ride, 0 to 19 miles an hour in 7.89 seconds, 0 to 15 in 5.19, 0 to 10, 3.06. Let's see how it does going in the other direction. All right, this time we're heading the opposite direction. We got a huge storm coming up, so we'll go ahead and get this one done. 3, 2, 1, go. All right, I think we're good on that one. Let's see how we ended up. This time against the wind, we hit 18 miles an hour in 10.37 seconds, 15 in 6.67 seconds, and 10 miles an hour in 3.31 seconds. All right, so there you have it. This is definitely a 18 to 19 mile an hour scooter for somebody of my weight, which today is about 204 pounds. If you weigh less than me, you'll definitely get more performance out of it. If you weigh more than me, you'll get a little less performance out of it. So anyways, we'll see how this does on climbing hills next. All right, so the next test we're going to do is the hill climb test with the Caroma P7. Now with this 1200 watts of power, it shouldn't have any issue going up 7 degrees or 12.5% grade. But we're going to go ahead and do that in 3, 2, 1, go. All right, really good performance out of this, up that 12.5% grade. No issue at all whatsoever. All right, we will head back down. It'll give us a good opportunity to test out these dual disc brakes. All right, plenty of stopping power. Little squeaky, but they are disc brakes and it's been pretty dusty lately, so. All right, well that was our hill climb test with the Caroma P7. 12.5% grades, no problem at all. On to the next test. All right, so for our next test, we're gonna go ahead and test out the brakes on the Caroma P7. This does have dual disc brakes, so disc brake in the front and the rear, as well as electronic braking. So we're gonna go ahead and test that out now. All right, we are officially at top speed. We're gonna test the brakes in 3, 2, 1, go. All right, plenty of stopping power. We'll go ahead and do that one more time. All right, here we go. Brake test round 2. And we are officially at top speed. And we're gonna test the brakes in 3, 2, 1, go. Very good braking performance. Does have disc brakes, so I am not surprised. Now, one piece of advice I do have with the Caroma P7 is that it's important to remember that the entire right-hand grip is a twist throttle. So when you're hitting the brakes, you just want to make sure that, you know, you're not twisting that throttle at the same time, so you want to adjust your grip accordingly. All right, so today we're going to be doing a range test with the Caroma P7. Now, Caroma does state that this scooter will get upwards of 30 miles on a single charge. So we'll definitely see what we're able to squeeze out today. This scooter does have one drive mode, which will take us up to about 19, 20 miles an hour. So we'll see how we do range-wise. So today I'm taking a little bit of a different route than I would normally take, and I'm doing that for a couple reasons. One, this scooter doesn't have an LCD display, so there is no voltage readout. So it makes it a little more difficult to gauge, you know, where I am, you know, range-wise. And two, it's going to be a super scorcher of a day today. Very, very hot. And because I have no way to easily gauge based on voltage how much distance I have remaining, I definitely don't want to do any kind of walking of the scooter in this heat. Anyways, I'll be giving you an update where we are range-wise every few miles. Now, one thing to mention about this scooter is it does have those 14-inch pneumatic tires, which I'll tell you what, do an absolute fantastic job of absorbing impacts as we go over them. And so lumps and bumps in the road, cracks in the road are a heck of a lot more comfortable with tires of this size. All right, so quick update here. We are officially at 4 miles on this ride, and we've still got 4 out of 4 bars remaining. Now, of course, this scooter does have a 48-volt system on board with 10.4 amp hour battery. So that's going to give us about 500 watt hours of capacity. So it'll be interesting to see if we're actually able to hit 30 miles. Now, 30 miles is going to be a theoretical range, and so usually that's done riding around at slower speeds with, you know, riders that are around 165 pounds, you know, riding on flat ground with minimum stop and go. For this ride today, I weigh in at around 203 pounds with gear. So, you know, based on that, you can usually expect anywhere from 50 to 60% of the theoretical range on most scooters. So we'll see how we end up today. And I'll say that, you know, this is a very zippy scooter. You can definitely feel the torque kick in when you pull on this accelerator handle here. So definitely lots and lots of power for a scooter of this size and weight. All right, so we are officially at 3 out of 4 bars when throttle is not applied. So we have officially lost a bar. So that's about, you know, 8 3/4 miles before we lost that first full bar. So we are officially at 12 miles on this ride. We've been riding around for about 53 minutes, and we've still got 3 out of 4 bars remaining. Now, another thing I want to call out about this scooter is that in a seated position, it's actually very comfortable. A little relaxing ride, a little neighborhood hopper. And it's also got really good handling. And so I think a lot of that is due in part to the fact that this thing has 14-inch wheels. And, you know, lower center of gravity. You know, you're going to have a lot more stable of a ride than you would, you know, on the equivalent stand-up scooter. So, you know, I mean, like if you're looking for something to cruise around the neighborhood, go on those commutes, you know, run to the grocery store, throw some things in this basket. I mean, this is a fun little scooter to ride around on. All right, so we're officially at 2 out of 4 bars remaining, and we're at 17.87 miles on this ride. And so far, pretty decent battery performance. So we just crossed the 20-mile mark on the Caroma P7, and we've still got 2 out of 4 battery bars remaining. So far, so good. Now, one thing I will mention is we've developed a little bit of a squeak in the stem, so I can hear some metal on metal rubbing. So definitely something I have to look at. Probably have to grease that area up a little bit. Quick check-in with the Caroma P7. We're just shy of 22 miles. Taking a little bit of a water break here, and then we'll get started again. All right, so quick update here. We are officially at 24.44 miles. We are on our last bar, and power output has dropped significantly. So it looks like we are officially in crawl home mode, which is exactly what I'm gonna do here. We may have to do some walking at this point, I'm not sure. All right, folks, so there you have it. That was our range test on the Caroma P7. On this ride, we got 24.68 miles. We had an average moving speed of 16.2 miles an hour, a maximum speed of 19.2 miles an hour, and then we had an elevation gain of 328 feet, all while riding for approximately 1 hour 43 minutes. So overall, very impressive performance out of this scooter when it comes to range. The claimed range is 30 miles. We got just shy of 25, so that's definitely a win in my book. The seat got a little uncomfortable once we crossed the 15-mile mark, but you know, taking a little water break, walking around, hopping back on, we were good to go. Now, if you're going to be riding around at night on the Caroma P7, lighting is going to be very important. And the good news here is that the Caroma P7 does come equipped with a surprisingly bright headlight, as well as a taillight and brake light combo. The headlight on the scooter does do a good job of illuminating the path ahead. One thing I always recommend though with scooters is to get a handlebar mounted light to provide a little more visibility to the sides of you while you're riding, especially if you're going to be riding around at night at higher speeds. The nice thing about the Caroma P7 is that it does have a folding handlebar stem as well as a collapsible seat. This allows you to get the scooter much more compact, which makes it easier to fit into the trunk of your car. In my Mazda CX-5, if I fold down half of the rear seats, I'm able to position the scooter in the back of the car appropriately and close the tailgate with no issues at all. In terms of weight, the Caroma P7 weighs in at exactly 55 pounds, which puts it at the upper end of what we typically see for commuter scooters. Another thing to mention about this scooter is it does have that basket that has the 5 kilogram or 11 pound capacity. I was able to, stick a pretty large Amazon box and go cruising around with that, no problem at all. So if you need to haul things around, it's great to have that basket on the back end of this scooter. Now, if you're going to be riding longer distances, ride comfort and stability are going to be really important. In terms of ride comfort, this scooter does come equipped with 14-inch air-filled tires, which are really nice because they do a very good job of absorbing impact in the road. Now, this scooter doesn't have a suspension, but it does make up for some of that with those 14-inch tires. Something else that's going to help improve ride comfort is the fact that this scooter comes standard with a seat that's got suspension built into it. So if you're going to be riding over particularly rough stuff, that suspension seat definitely helps dampen some of that impact. And another thing I want to mention about ride comfort and stability is the fact that this is a seated scooter, which means that your center of gravity is going to be much lower than it would be on, a comparable stand-up scooter. And so what does that mean? It's going to mean more stable ride. You're going to be able to lean more heavily into turns. And really, this scooter feels like a mini motorcycle. It's got a lot of power, and it's very stable both at slow and high speeds, which makes it overall a very fun scooter to ride. In terms of water resistance ratings on this scooter, I wasn't able to find anything either on the website or in the instruction manual. Now, what the manual does say is that if you're going to be riding around in light rain, to definitely wipe off the scooter after each ride. And they strongly discourage riding this around in heavy rain conditions. One thing to mention is that with pretty much all scooter companies out there, they don't cover water damage. So the fact that this scooter doesn't have a listed IP rating, I would avoid riding around in wet conditions if possible. So, after looking at all the features of this scooter and looking at the results of our end-to-end testing, I'm going to go over the things that I love as well as the things that I think can use some improvement. So starting with the things that I love about this scooter, number one on my list has got to be the 1200 watts of peak power. This scooter does have a 48-volt system. It has that 750 nominal watt motor, which is capable of cranking out the 1200 watts, and we saw that in the hill climb test. It did a fantastic job scaling that 12.5% incline. And so when you're riding around the scooter, I mentioned it before, but it's like riding around on a mini motorcycle. There is no shortage of power, and you can tell that the scooter is limited to 20 miles an hour electronically, but you can definitely feel that if that limitation wasn't there, this thing could keep on going. Number 2 on my list has got to be the range. Now, in our range test, we were able to get almost 25 miles out of the 30 miles of theoretical range that Caroma claims on this scooter, which, you know, in my book is a fantastic performance, especially considering the battery is only 10.4 amp hours. And number 3 on my list is going to be the fact that this is a seated scooter. When you're in that seated position, you do have lower center of gravity, which just multiplies the fun factor of this scooter. So definitely a pleasure to ride around the neighborhood, run to the grocery store, or just go on a, afternoon leisure ride. So now that I've gone over the things that I love about the Caroma P7, it's time to go over some of the things that I think could use some improvement. Number 1 on my list is going to be the squeaking that developed in the folding mechanism. You do have some metal on metal contact, and with some little tiny micro movements, you do get some squeaking, and I am definitely not a fan of any kind of squeaks coming out of scooters. So you can address this in one of 2 ways. One is you put some like white lithium grease on the metal contact points. That does eliminate the squeak. Another option, which I actually opted for, was to take a piece of 16th inch thick silicone rubber, and I cut out a little circle. I put it in the folding mechanism, folded it down. Now we've got some cushion between those 2 things, and there's no squeaking at all whatsoever. Number 2 on my list is going to be the display on the Caroma P7. As I mentioned before, all it shows you is the battery level indicator, which is probably the most important piece of information, but it would also be nice to be able to see the speed, an odometer, trip meter, elapsed time, all that fun stuff that you typically see on scooters in this price range. So hopefully in the future they can incorporate that. There is a level of simplicity that's kind of exciting about it, but at the end of the day I really would like to see like at least a speedometer. So bringing it all together, who would I recommend the Caroma P7 to? Well, if you're looking for a budget-friendly scooter option, somewhere around $500, that does have bigger tires, has exceptional range performance at around 25 miles on a single charge, as well as has plenty of power, not only to zip around, but to climb hills, the Caroma P7 could very well be the right scooter for you. Overall, I've had a really enjoyable time riding the Caroma P7, and it's likely going to be a mainstay in my collection moving forward. I can't tell you how many times over the last several weeks, I powered it on and went on a cruise around the neighborhood to kind of let loose. And so let me know in the comments below if you have any questions, thoughts, concerns, and if you do decide you want to purchase this scooter, I will include some links as well as coupons in the description below. If you use those to purchase this scooter, it really does help support this channel, and it helps keep the wheels moving on future reviews. And as always, thank you so much for tuning into Tom's Gadget Garage. We'll see you next time.